So welcome to day 3 of the art challenge. Today, what am I going to get you to do today? Well, today we're going to go back and have a look at all those things that you were drawing yesterday. But instead of trying to draw all of them or one of them, what I want you to do is I'm going to get you to make little viewfinders, and we're going to go in like a microscope and we're going to look in detail today. So anyway, I'll show you how to make a little viewfinder and how we're going to go about it. I'll see you in a minute. So today you need some thin card, or it could be cereal packet, something that you can cut some squares into. So about A4 in size. You'll need a glue stick, some scissors, a ruler, you might want a pencil. You could use a scalpel or a craft knife for cutting out with. And you're going to need a biro or a pen. You're going to need your paint brushes that you've made. So you're going to need all of your paint brushes. And again, you're going to need your ink made from either coffee or paint or black Indian ink, and some water to wash your brushes out with, like before. You'll need to bring in all the work that you've done already. So all the mark making that you did, you can bring all those along. You want something to cut on, so here's a cutting mat, but you could cut on an old magazine to cut things out on. You'll need some paper, about A4 in size, and it could be paper that's got marks on that you rested on yesterday, because remember, it's much easier to actually work on plain paper that's already got some marks on it. And you can have your drawings from yesterday as well, so you can collect all your drawings and you can have your still life set up also. So you've gathered all the things around you. First thing to do is I want you to create a viewfinder. So a viewfinder, let me just move these out of the way. And the viewfinder, here we go. I want you to cut out a series of windows from your piece of card. So as you can see, I've cut out windows here and here and here. This one is 3 inches by 3 inches, or that's 8 centimeters by 8 centimeters. 1 inch by 3 inch, or 2.5 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And 3 inches by 6 inches, that's 8 centimeters by 16. And I want you to cut those out, and they become your viewfinders, and we are going to be placing them over things or in front of things, and we're going to look at things much more in detail, much more like putting a microscope onto things. So let's get started with that. For my first drawing, I'm going to do this square window, and I'm going to lay the square window over one of my drawings. This one was my left-hand drawing, and I managed to get the glass and the aftershave bottle and everything quite into it. So I'm going to use the square. So I'm going to place the square somewhere over it to, you know, I'm not going to try and capture the whole of the bowl up there, or I'm not going to try and capture just that. I'm going to place it sort of in between, so I get a nice lot of information within the square. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just put it in there and just make sure I don't move it. I'm happy with that, with the way it is. On the piece of paper, which at the moment is a rectangle, you could also make the paper into a square. To do that, you just have to fold one side to one side like that. If you just with a pencil, if you just mark there and there and join those lines up with a ruler, you've got a square. I'm just going to cut that out. There you go. There we are, making sure that I haven't shifted that about. So the challenge is to now we've got to reproduce this small square, which is 3 by 3 or 8 by 8, and we've got to enlarge it, and we've got to enlarge it into this square. I also want to give myself a challenge, because I'm actually going to try and do it in my left hand again. So that's my non-dominant hand. So again, if you're left-handed, you'd use your right. I'm going to use that. So I'm going to just look, and I'm going to try and just recreate, whoops, that picture. See, I need to warm up again, really, because there you are. Let's see if we can just draw that. almost, not quite, or something here. So I've nearly got it. Then I can go over and use my paint brushes, and I can start using my brushes again, so I can start actually adding some colour to these too. So I'm going to just add some colour to these also. So trying to see if I can replicate near enough to what I've got. Got some black in there. Okay. So I'm quite happy with that. So there we are. So I've blown that one up. I can go back and actually do some more work into that later. So the next challenge is I'm going to use this like small square, and I've laid it over one of my, actually this was one of my closed eye pictures. It's just a line drawing, and then I've cut a piece of paper, roughly an oblong, similar proportion, but obviously much bigger, to actually then transfer that onto there. I've collected some papers. So these are some of the papers that I used in my first day of the challenge, just to try out my brushes and make some marks and some pattern on some of the papers here. So I'm going to transfer this. First of all, I'm going to just, with a pencil, I'm just going to just draw, just copy the lines across by just looking and observing, and just drawing the lines across. These are just, I'm doing it in pencil because these are just going to be guidelines just to follow. And what we're going to do is we're going to create quite an abstract collage. That's that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to, each one of these sections, we're going to cut out some paper. So we're going to cut out roughly near enough to the same sort of size as the papers, and we can do that just by roughly thinking, right, we can just lay it on the top and we can just draw over, trying to follow the line, and then we can then just cut them out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to roughly cut out the shapes like so, using different bits of collage papers, one over the top of the other. So I'm going to put that across there, just check at the image. It's quite a nice simple image across there, and I can lay that one back on the top of there just to draw in that line, so I can copy it across, and then I can cut that bit out. So I'm going to just put that back there with the pencil. I'm just transferring the lines onto my collage papers, and then putting the collage papers back onto my, almost like my drawing really. So then that one can go back in there, and so forth. So I'm going to carry on doing that right across, and I'll come back and I'll show you what I've done before we stick it all down. So here we go. I've stuck it all down, thinking about this square and trying to keep all the pieces the same. So thinking these are sections within the collage. So now it's quite just lots and lots of texture, and what you can do is you can pick up your biro or your pen, and then you can just redraw in those lines. So you've got, now you can just go along the contours of your collage sections, and then you can just reinforce those lines again. So this is a complete way of doing a real abstract, just using a viewfinder from one of your drawings. So I'm just going to go along here and just at that one like so. Whoops. On there. There. Then I'm just thinking about the drawing. Actually, the line does go through that bit along there, and then we have this line coming through here. So trying to be true to what I can see. So there you go. So that's another little challenge that you can do. You can try out so look for lots of images, and you don't just have to do the narrow one. You could do one of the bigger ones if you wanted to, and do that several times as well. Okay, let's move on to the last challenge. So this time I've set the viewfinder up for the last challenge, which is in front of my little still life, and I'm going to just capture everything I see within the square. Now you could have the card coming a little bit forward if you wanted to, or like I have, actually resting up against the still life. I've got a larger piece of paper and I'm only going to use my homemade brushes and my inks, both coffee and the black ink as well. Here we go. Right, well, my first favourite brush is the feather, so we're going to just go. So the feather's got a mind of its own, and we're just going to use the feather and just going to see what we can do with the feather, and just down. And it really doesn't matter if it's got a mind of its own or if it does something you don't want it to. It does not matter. It does not matter. Let it go. Let it just move across the page and draw. You can always go back in and just correct it, or improve the line, or work into an area that you think, oh, I don't like that, that's not working. So you can just work with that behind there. Right, that's that. Let's see what we can do. Let's use some coffee. So I want to just lovely smell of coffee. When you work with the coffee ink, you just get this smell of coffee wafting up when you're working, which is quite nice. Use a little bit of black here now. Just think, just work into the glass there. Be as free and do what you want to do. That little wash out. I quite like this little sticky one as well. I use the sticks. Just very scratchy. Quite satisfying really to quite nice. There we are. Use a sponge. So I'm going to let that just dry a little bit, and then I'm going to go back, maybe work back into it with my sticks and things, and I'll show you at the end some of the other things that I've done. So just, that's the 3 challenges that I'd like you to do. Just a few more things that I've done is perhaps just this one, which was just a drawing, an observation drawing through my window, just with my feather paintbrush. But then I've gone and actually cut out little slithers of some of those decorated papers or pattern papers, and then just collage those in as well. So that's something you can play with. There's a smaller version now. I think I started off with a smaller version, had a little play, and then started doing some larger versions there. There's some of the collage pieces that we've done. Expanded images, worked in and painted into images as well. And hopefully, time has gone by so quickly. For me, even though I've been filming this today, the day has just gone by, and it's just, you can just become so absorbed in just observing, mark making, drawing, and then playing and putting mixed media and collage and all sorts of things together. So that is the end of the art challenge. That's the last day, and I'm going to leave it to you to carry on being creative. Carry on sketching, doing little viewfinder pieces to see how you can look at detail. And then I want you to carry on doing all your collaging and bits and pieces. And don't forget to put it up online and tag me in. I look forward to seeing that. Now, don't forget, thumbs up if you really like doing all this. Do share this, share it with all your friends, and anyone that you know might like to do something creative. And if you want to say thank you for providing this free content, and I'd like to keep it free, you can also buy me a coffee. So if you go to buymeacoffee.com/Gary Mills Design, you can buy me the price of a cup of coffee, and I'll be very thankful. Thank you then, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.